picture that you see here this is a picture my sister Diane painted. When she was fresh out of high school, she went to the University of South Florida and was going to major in art, and quickly dropped the class because she compared herself to everyone else. And she went on to become a nurse. 30 years later, she decided she wanted to paint. Within 2 months, she broke her back. She was paralyzed for a short time. And she didn't understand why God would take that gift from her that she had just picked back up after 30 years. She painted this picture with her left hand 3 months after she broke her back, and she is right-handed. So that's another story that you could start with. You always start with something that is going to grab the attention. Again, humor, thought-provoking statements. One of the thought-provoking statements I've used is, have you ever felt like no one was listening? I don't think there's anyone in this room that would think that they haven't felt that way. Whenever you ask a thought-provoking question, raise your hand, get their attention, and try to ask a question that you know the answer is going to be yes. You want to draw the audience in. You can use a startling statement, a rhetorical question, a quotation. For example, Billy Graham says, "We're not waiting on God. He's waiting on us." A visual aid. And sometimes you're in a setting where the person who just sang is so amazing, you can't help but reference how incredible they were. If you were to come up to speak and just ignore that, how inappropriate that would be. And so sometimes you want to reference what has just happened, or if you're having a special occasion, and sometimes it can be a problem too that you reference. Now you tie it together. You use transitional statements to help move your audience to the next point of your outline. You have to connect it. And then you're ready to create your plan. So in summary, you have to determine your aim. What is your purpose? Why are you speaking? What is it that you have to say? What is the message? Again, it does not have to be in a conference. It can be in a small group. And you may not be going through all of this as a talk, but you do need to know why you are speaking. If you're in a small group and you have a message to say, you can guide that conversation along, because people oftentimes that need the Lord are going to throw up those things that try to detour you. And you have to recognize, learn to listen, learn to be quiet, and learn to really hear their heart, because they'll throw a lot of things out there that they're not really meaning. So if you know your purpose and you know your aim, and you're just sitting and listening, whether you're speaking in a large group or whether you're speaking one-on-one or in a small group, if you know your purpose of why you're speaking, then you can guide that conversation along. If you are given a talk, remember the first thing you start with is your outline. Usually three points, maybe 5, not much more than that. After you've got your outline, your basic outline, and I would challenge you to start looking for outlines. Go home and the Bible, for example, has a lot of outlines with verbs. If you go through and you can find, God's got outlines already in the Bible for you with verbs. And then the next thing that you do, after you created your outline, that's where you're going to develop the supporting details that are going to add the meat to the outline. Those are your anecdotes, your personal illustrations, scripture, and instruction. Then you're going to figure out what is your opening statement, what is your grabber, what are you going to do to gain rapport? Because remember, you have 30 seconds. And then you've got to tie it together. Those are your transitional statements. And then you prepare your closing. The closing does not have to be very long. You can end with a quote. You can end with a call to action, a challenge, or you can do a summary of what you've said. I saw this picture in Georgia. I don't think I would see it in Florida, but I thought it was really cool. And this picture, to me, is a great closing because God will never give up on you, so don't give up on yourself. If you look at these, though, it shows you some of the ways that you can close a talk or anything when you're speaking to someone. You know, when living with a salesman, I've learned the close is the important part. And you have to know your purpose, and you have to know what it is that you're hoping the audience is going to do, and then you go for the close. If you're sharing with someone about the Lord, you could just simply say, is there anything that would keep you from accepting Jesus tonight? What is standing between you and making that decision? Are you sure that if you were to die tonight, you'd go to heaven? And if they say no, then you can say, what is it that you need to know that you don't already know that would make you decide to surrender your life to the Lord? You're going for that closing to help them to understand they need to make that change. And your talk may not be about salvation, but you are still looking for bringing change in their life. So my closing to you is, what is it that you're looking for? What is your purpose? What has God purpose for this season in your life? Just as I wrote down what God has put in my heart, my mission, what is your mission? What is God laying on your heart? What is your mission? As you spend time with the Lord, ask Him. You know, and this is the season for now, because God changes us and grows us. And you may be really surprised at the things that are coming down later in your life. We don't always see what He's doing. But my challenge to you is to spend time alone with the Lord and ask Him to reveal to you what is your purpose and what is your mission for this time in your life. Are we out of time? We're out of time? Okay, I didn't know if you had mentioned Q&A. I didn't know.
Yeah, we have about 5 minutes.
Okay. Teresa had mentioned maybe open it up if anyone had any questions. It could be about anything on this or whatever.
Think about your question a minute. Just think about that, because as we were all coming in tonight, I mentioned to you early on, when you got the letter inviting you, you were probably thinking, what is this all about? And even sitting here tonight, you might be thinking, well, I am never standing up in front of anybody and talking about anything, so I don't really need all this information. But let me just remind you, I loved what she said. God is working by blending us and weaving us together. All right? My strengths are different from your strengths, and your strengths are different than my strengths. That doesn't make them any better. That doesn't make anybody higher, on the totem pole than anybody else. But God is blending us and weaving us together. He is going to use our gifts and abilities as we surrender those gifts and abilities. Carolyn came in tonight, and she shared with me her thoughts after she got that letter. Would you just share with them a minute, just what you said?
Sure.
Stand up so they can see you. This is Carolyn Martin.
My husband had opened up the mail, and it was early in the morning. I got up and I looked at it, and I went, oh, that's really nice. Yeah, I can't do that. Well, I went in the bathroom, get ready for work. I do a lot of thinking then, and I thought, what are you doing, Carolyn? You've been asking God, where do you want me to go? Show me where you want me to go. Help me, to do this. And I went, all right, I'll bring the letter to work. I'll read it on my way. I'll read it when I get to work. So my husband I told him about this, how my little conflict with myself, and so he was driving to work and he had the radio on, and he's listening to Christian talk radio, and it's usually one pastor, but there was this lady on, and she was talking about how, we really need to pay attention to what God is saying to us, and she said, it's kind of like sometimes if you get that letter in the mail from the church, or something, and you say, nah, I don't want to do that, but you better really pick it back up and read it. And I went, okay.
Now, can I, and that's a perfect report opening statement too, or another illustration to add, so that's great. And it's, it's not like you had to tell a joke. It's something that really happens in your life, and we all have things that happen in our life that they mean a lot more when you're sharing that than just trying to tell a joke.
Those personal experiences.
Right.
Thank you for sharing that. So ladies, thank you, Ginger. That was wonderful.